OpenAI 第9天的活动 Dev Day 假期版，我们点击这个博客看一下，这里它会告诉我们明天的预告时间。在这里显示的是它的一个直播，关于开发人员的一个假期。我们会在这里看直播，我会边看边总结，边做一些评价。我们来看一下。
And today, we're launching them in O1 in the API. So we're launching function calling, structured outputs, and developer messages. And developer messages are a little new. They're a new spin on system messages, and they're actually part of our instruction hierarchy work to teach the models which kind of instructions to follow in what order. So the developer message is controlled entirely by the developer and used to steer the model. Finally, we're also launching reasoning effort. This is a new parameter that tells the model how much to spend time thinking. It's really helpful to save a little time and money on easier problems, and then you can spend more compute on the hardest problems where you need it. I said finally, but that's not true. We're also launching vision inputs in the API.
Awesome.
People have just been really asking for this, and we think it'll help a lot in cases like manufacturing or science. So super excited to see what you build there. But actually, let's see a quick demo.
All right, yeah, let's walk through a live demo to see some of the O1's new capabilities in the API, starting with vision. So for that, I've prepared the photo scans of a text form that I filled out with some fake data the other day, but I had some mistakes in there. And I wonder if O1 can help us detect the errors in the form. But just a quick note before we get started, while O1 can help us detect errors in forms like a text form, it is not a substitute for professional judgment, of course.
Of course.
All right, I will open up our developer playground, which is a really nice UI for experimenting with OpenAI's models in the API. At the top, this is our newly introduced developer message. This is where you can provide the model with some high-level instructions or sometimes detailed instructions on how it should behave as a model. I have a pretty simple one here. And then I uploaded the images from my form and asked the model to spot for errors. While O1 is thinking, let's jump back to my form to take a look at the errors that I had. So the first error I had is on line 11 for calculating adjusted gross income, AGI. I was supposed to subtract line 10 from line 9, but I did the opposite. I used addition.
We've all been there.
Well, happens. I got a little too excited every time I see the word AGI. The second error is I used the wrong standard deduction. Looking at the chart on page 4, standard deduction depends on both the filing status and also the number of checked boxes on page 1. So this means for O1 to figure out the correct value for standard deduction, you need to reference content for 2 other images. Let's see what the model get back to us. All right. Let's see the model. Great. It noticed the arithmetic error on line 11. I was supposed to use subtraction. That's good. And it also noticed the standard deduction amount is incorrect, which is also right. And based on that, of course, I need to adjust my taxable income and subsequent tax. All right. After fixing those 2 errors in my form, I know my taxable income now arrives at $9,325. Next up, I will ask the model, based on information from the form, how much income tax do I owe if my taxable income is this? So what do you think the model will do here?
Really hoping it gives us a good answer.
Well, O1 doesn't have access to the latest up-to-date 2024 tax table, but it does have access to a set of functions we provided on the right. Functions are a way for the model to interact with your backend APIs. So here we can take a look at one of those functions. So we provided, it's rendered in a JSON schema, and we provide with a high-level description for what the function does, and the set of arguments the model needs to provide to call the function. So this is our function calling feature.
Makes sense. So the model calls this function. We can call this on the back end, get the correct tax data, send it back.
Exactly. Looks like the model called the correct function here with the input pulled from the image.
Does the user see any of this?
Not really. So this all happens in the backend of your app. The user will not see any of the function calls nor the response from your API. So after we get the response, we will send that back to the model, and O1 will respond to the user in a very nice-looking user message. So here it tells the user about their new updated income tax after the correction.
Awesome. Way better.
But that's not all. I wanted to show you one last thing that's structured outputs. I will ask the model here, what corrections do I need in my forms? But before I hit enter, I want to provide model a JSON schema for the response format. This will instruct the model to output according to this JSON schema. And on top of that, we also implemented solutions on the API backend to ensure the model output adhere to this JSON schema 100% of the time.
Makes sense. Actually, let's take a quick look at the schema. So it's called form corrections, and it's got a list of corrections. And each correction has what you'd expect. So there's the reason, so we can display to the user what they got wrong. And then it's got the location. So this is super cool. We can actually render a UI for the PDF and highlight exactly what's wrong with the new value and the old value. So structured outputs is super useful when you don't want to kind of render Markdown from the model and you want to just extract the JSON automatically. So you can see here the model has output the corrections. You can see they're in the nice JSON format. We've got the new value, the old value, all the locations and reasons. And so yeah, this is super helpful when you're building kind of rich, featureful applications.
就知道这个直播主要是针对开发人员的程序员的。下面还有10几分钟，我们不看了，我们主要看一下它的主要讲的内容。OpenAI OE 和面向开发人员的新工具，它进行了一个升级。第一个升级就是 API 的 OpenAI OE， 它能够支持函数调用、开发人员消息结构化输出和视觉功能。它也可以进行实时 API， 包括简单的 WebRTC 集成。GPT-So 音频降价了 60%， 也就是告诉我们以前1/10的音频速率可以支持 GPT-So Mini。它也支持了这样的一个微调，它是一种新的模型技术，可以轻松的根据用户和开发人员的偏好定制模型。它还给了我们一个新的 Go 和 Java SDK 推出测试版。这里它告诉我们 OpenAI OE 是我们的推理模型，旨在以高精度处理复杂的多项功能，正在面向 API 使用第5层的开发人员推出。如果你不是第5层的，现在可能还暂时无法使用。它这样有几个特点，第一个就是函数调用，它可以将 OE 无缝连接到外部数据和 API， 结构化输出，它可以生成遵循你自定义 JSON 架构的响应开发者消息，它能够指定模型的上下文和说明，你可以进行定义语气、风格和其他行为的指导。视觉功能，它可以对图像进行推理，可以解锁科学、制造或编码中视觉输入出现的问题。更低的延迟，它的延迟呢比原来的 OE Preview 减少了 60%。它增加了一个新的推理方式，在你进行模型之前，它开始思考你允许思考的时间。这里它给了我们一个最新的一个模型，是 OE 2024 12月17号的。它也做了一些评估，和 OE Preview 做了一些对比，对比的方向也很多。这里它给了我们直接一个图，我们看到这个最新的模型就是12月7号的，这个颜色是 OE Preview 的，它做了一些对比。这是结构化输出，这是在微调，这是在输出。你可以看到它们基本上都超过其他的一些以前的模型，这个是相差不大的，但是也增加了一点。这里呢是实时 API 的一个改进对于开发人员来说，这是非常重要的一个点。它要求了低延迟自然的对话体验它非常适合语音助手、实时翻译工具、虚拟导师、交互式客户的支持系统，甚至你可以设置圣诞老人。前几天他发了一个圣诞老人的一个模式，你可以来玩一下，并且还告诉我们你现在可以直接 WebRTC 集成，降低价格以及对响应的更多控制。这里他做的一个代码的一个展示。这里值得说一下，简单来说它新的版本是实时 API 测试的一部分，具有更可靠的输入改进的语音质量和更低的成本。它的音频代币降低了 60%， 以前输入代币是40到100万美元，现在降低了很多，这是更好的控制响应这是偏好的微调。它也测试了 Go 和 Java SDK， 这都是代码。这里它告诉我们，无论是新的语音应用程序、微调的模型，还是突破性的代理应用程序，你都可以进行尝试。关于第9天的活动分享完了，如果你有什么问题，可以点击下方进行评论。我们下一个视频再见。